guys a story about a time that I did 5 MEO DMT. It was my first time ever doing DMT, dethylditryptamine, and I was kind of excited to do it. I've done acid fair amount of times. I've done shrooms a fair amount of times. I've had my experience with psychedelic substances, but I was very interested in the effects of DMT, and I researched it quite a bit before I could actually get my hands on it to do it. But after I did it, it was kind of not what I expected. It was very intense, but I'm gonna go through step by step on what happened. I would kind of call it an ego death, a bad trip. It was kind of after I took my third hit off my bong and I began to break through. My body started relaxing into my bed, and I was laying in my bed at this time, and my body started relaxing, my eyes started closing, and I started getting this very tight kind of feeling in my chest. And after I got this feeling in my chest, this ringing, almost like a song bowl type of ringing, like a ooh noise, but it was very, very loud. It kept getting louder, and I had music on in the background at this point, and this noise was getting so loud that I couldn't hear my music anymore. But this noise kept getting louder, and I was expecting this to happen. I've watched a couple trip reports, and I know that it's a natural thing to happen when you break through the tunnel. So I was breaking through the tunnel, and I started getting this white flashlight, like everything started turning white, and I felt like I was going to bed, almost. But I still had this overwhelming, uncomfortable feeling in my chest. And I started to get a little bit nervous at this point, but I broke through, and I don't know if I had my eyes open or closed, but I'm pretty sure I had them open. I was laying down in my bed with my arms almost paralyzed, and I have this blanket. I actually have it right here. It has like a leaf texture and like a kind of leaf design inside of it. And when I first started hitting, everything started rapidly changing colors. Like, not just like one thing was a different color and like this thing was a different color. No, I mean like my skin would rapidly change colors, almost like every single color of my Christmas lights, like just every color. And at first it was fun because I started experiencing like this feeling of this crazy hallucination type of vibe. I got this like third geometrical shape type of feeling, almost like I was looking through the third dimension. But I also had this feeling that the leaves off my blanket were kind of floating into the air, almost like they were like coming off my blanket and kind of waving and folding on itself. But at this point it was fine, and I was having a great time. But it started getting very overwhelming, and I started not being able to handle it anymore. But it got to the point where I started having a panic attack, and I wanted to call my girlfriend to make sure that I was okay. And I needed confirmation, personally. And I went to go grab my phone, and when I reached for my phone, I grabbed it and picked it up and clicked the power button, and my phone like acted like like almost teleported back to the spot it was. Like I never picked it up in the first place. So I went to go grab my phone again, and I opened it up, and this time when I opened it up, my whole phone was glitching, and it wouldn't let me log in my phone. And at this point, my heart's beating. I'm kind of getting very like full of anxiety, almost having a panic attack. And at the same point I'm tripping. So I get this anxiety, and it almost feels like hours have gone by, and I don't know what's real or not anymore. And at the point where I didn't think I was going to actually get out of the trip, kind of scared me a little bit. But at this point, I have roommates downstairs, and they started talking to once each other or one another, and after they started talking, I had like it's like I had their voices programmed in my head, so I know what they sound like, but my head was saying different words out of their mouth, out of their voice, so out of like a very familiar voice that was in my household, but different words that were kind of taunting and rude and telling me that I shouldn't be here and a couple stuff like that. And at this point, I kind of thought I was gonna become like schizophrenic and maybe not come back from this trip. So I was getting very scared. And I also started getting this feeling like like I was chewing on nails or like metal shards, like almost. But it was like this very uncomfortable feeling in my mouth with like pebbles, like little metal pebbles or something, like thousands of them. And this very uncomfortable pain in my chest. And at this point, I stood up out of my bed because I wanted to calm myself down. I looked out of my window, and everything started kind of getting pretty normal. And I noticed that everything looked awfully normal, kind of too normal. And I sat back down on my bed. And once I sat back down on my bed, everything started waving and kind of going um, more psychedelic again. And I was not ready for this. I was telling myself that I didn't want it to happen, and I was done, and I was over, and I don't want it anymore.